you mentioned something that I think it seems to come very easily to you, this idea that it sounds like, from what you're saying, a very large number of clones could be manufactured by various processes. What is the fascination with making all these clones?
Well, I think they have their own agenda, and each organization has its own agenda. I mean, there is, of course, one operating everything, but you have to understand it trickles down to many different types of facilities and agendas and organizations, and, you know, who knows where it goes from there. But, you know, I believe, in my opinion, that they're doing this to maybe form a fake or stage a fake invasion maybe, or use these beings for abduction purposes. Abduction
is something that began with Betty and Barney Hill in the early 1960s. Why do you think really there were not reports of gray abductions before Betty and Barney Hill?
This is the most controversial question I get all the time, and I have, you know, the great answer for it. And, you know, these people did get abducted. Okay, it really did happen, and we've interviewed a lot of these people, and it's real. But what I'm getting at is it wasn't real as far as, you know, the beings and the stagecraft and the things that were going on, because they all want them to coincide together. So when we interview an abductee from New Hampshire, they have the same exact story as the abductee from Namibia and the abductee from Japan, and so because they make them very similar, and then they'll do many different types of episodes of what they want that person to see and remember, and how to make them traumatized, and they can do that in many ways. Knocking them out first, and then having them wake up in a room.
Wait a minute, are you saying that the UFOs are fake?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they're...
But is there a craft? Are you saying that there are craft?
There are craft. Yeah, they're real craft that we reverse engineered. But there are craft.
I just want to ask you this question, which I do know the answer to, but I want to get you to say it on camera. I had Whitley Strieber, who is the famous guy who wrote the book Communion. I had Whitley Strieber on my panel at Conscious Life Expo. He reported having more memories of his abduction, and that he wasn't just seeing grays. He was also seeing regular humans in black military uniforms.
What has happened is, he was probably moved to an installation or something, or maybe the black ops team for that division, when he came to a little bit, his memory, you know, caught a glimpse of it. But they do sometimes have a total recall. People are actually awake during the whole procedure and remember everything.
Wow.
Or they'll hear everything and remember it.
So there was a sense when Whitley was saying this that he might have been abducted by the military. Do you think that there are real grays doing real abductions that are actual extraterrestrials, or do you think that this is just a vast, weird government program of some kind?
I believe it's a program. Knowing, you know, what they can do anyway. Like I said, they don't need anything, but there's a lot more to that story with other beings and other things. So I believe it's a complete form of military or some sort of faction organization that works, you know, beyond the military that's doing this.
There was a particular insider disclosure about the Illuminati that I read. Very, very disturbing book called Paperclip Dolls. And this particular female witness went through a lot of the most savage stuff that you hear about, but she also reported having to wear an alien suit, having to dress up in this kind of silvery alien suit with the head that looked like a gray, and actually abuse people in that capacity. And that's in the book. So are there cases where you could confirm that maybe in older programs?
I can confirm there's hundreds of thousands of people that go missing just in the United States alone every year, but you don't hear about it except for a couple websites, because they're the derelicts and the drug users or the homeless or the runaways. And I do believe, you know, that these people are being collected and tested, and also seeing the response and measuring the chemicals of the person while they're actually being attacked by someone dressed in a suit or something like that.
Could you tell us a little more about some of the stagecraft that you said is happening in these abduction cases? Like, what are we actually looking at?
They don't always have to use a real craft. ARVs, we call them alien reproduction vehicles, do exist, and I have seen them firsthand. And they're not as well created, of course, as the original extraterrestrial crafts that they try to reverse engineer them. But they do what they're supposed to do. So they want you to have a visual, because you'll remember that, and that's all you're going to talk about the rest of your life, because it's the most amazing, horrific, scary thing. It's a very classical, typical thing.
When you have told us about the work that you did with the autopsies of extraterrestrial bodies, it's a very curious subject for me, because obviously these bodies are coming from somewhere. You say, including all the tissue samples and everything, 3,000 roughly.
Yeah, specimens, tissue samples, and beings. Yeah.
The sheer genetic diversity of all that material, and then the idea of, if light speed is a barrier for travel, how could there be so many extraterrestrials that we would even be able to get our hands on? Or is light speed not a barrier, to your understanding?
Oh, light speed definitely is not a barrier for extraterrestrials. And that's a great point to correlate with the amount of numbers of tissue specimen autopsies I've done, and the number of operating rooms that are down there that are running, 24/7.
Right.
And the number of living habitable worlds just in our own solar system. We look at it like it's a lot of numbers, but as you pointed out, it's not a big number for just one little planet to have all these different specimens. And what's not to say all these specimens came from outer space? Maybe they came from inside the Earth in different places. Maybe they did open up some cavities.
It was very surprising to me when we were talking about you seeing a reptilian type of being apparently in custody of two people. You said it was 10 feet tall, but that for you at that point in time, it could just as easily, or maybe more easily, have been something that we grew or we made. You weren't necessarily convinced you were seeing an extraterrestrial.